Kick Him in the Head is a podcast that takes an inside look at the world of mixed martial arts, featuring interviews with some of the top fighters from South Africa and around the world, with a focus on the EFC and UFC promotions. Join us as we delve deep into the techniques, strategies, and mindsets of these world-class athletes, learning from their experiences and gaining insights into what makes a successful fighter in the toughest sport on earth.
Kick him in the head!
Shaheed.
Way in the flesh, my man.
Welcome to the Kick Him in the Head podcast studio.
Hey, everybody. It is an honor to be here. Physically.
And this is actually the EFC hexagon, not octagon, hexagon because it has 6 sides. And speaking of which, we have EFC 106 coming up next week.
Wow.
Very exciting card.
Wow. EFC, man, you can never, ever miss an EFC event. You never know who you're going to see, what's they going to be, whether it's fights inside the cage or outside the cage.
And with the EFC, they've beefed up security, but it does happen.
It does happen.
It is a fight.
When you have that testosterone of all those guys around each other, everybody's shouting, everybody's getting up. I mean, we were sitting next to Nick
Wende, the former bantamweight champion.
Exactly.
And Sylvester Shishambu, the former bantamweight champion.
Contesting the new bantamweight champion. So there was a lot of emotions. It was a heated one. We loved it, loved the energy of the crowd. And guys, you need to get there. You need to get to an EFC event. If you're in Johannesburg, go watch these fights. They are electric.
So as a big fan of EFC, I think the card that's coming, 106, is stacked. I actually know quite a few of these fighters. We've engaged them, watched them, etc. So I'm really looking forward to 106. But the one fight that I'm very excited about is Roy Lokolo versus Hlongwa. Yes, Hlongwa. I can't remember his first name.
Why are you excited about that one?
Because I've engaged Roy quite a few times at EFC, and he's very intense dude, very friendly dude, very nice guy. So I'm looking forward to watching him fight. And I've seen him sparring, I've seen some of his old fights now, and it's going to be a very exciting fight. Skilled, violent, and then I know the Hlongwa brothers are both fighting on this card.
Yeah.
His brother's fighting in the main event against Lamprecht, JP Lamprecht.
Yes.
And it's just a very exciting fight because with the pedigree of Hlongwa and the skills of Lokolo, it's going to be a very interesting fight.
It is. And talking about the main card fight, Lamprecht, Hlongwa. The biggest thing that I've heard about Lamprecht, it's been stated that he was Dricus's hardest opponent in the UFC. So with that sort of reputation, him converting to Team CIT, it will be an interesting fight. It will be hopefully a skill-driven fight and not a snooze fest, as sometimes it has happened.
It does sometimes happen.
But it is MMA. I'm excited for the prelims even. Bradley coming in for his lightweight debut. We did have some conversations with Bradley, speaking about his family, speaking about his friends. That will be on soon, people. Don't worry about it. He has spoken about his time in the featherweight division. Everybody was keen for him to fight Ruthless Rudy Roots, but unfortunately that doesn't seem to be the case. And we will see what he brings to the lightweight division.
That's quite true, and he's going up against a very tough opponent, Rob Sungwe, and Rob is a very skilled, very skilled, very hungry opponent as well. And he's been in the lightweight division, so he's not changing weight classes. This is essentially just another fight for him, and I'm sure he's looking to just go through Bradley, who's a newcomer. So it's going to be a very interesting fight to see Rob versus the Nightmare. And seeing that outcome, especially if you look at Bradley's last fight, it was a loss to the champion, and it was a bit of a deflator. So to see him coming back, really looking forward to it. But also, what we don't have very often in the EFC, women's fights.
Yeah.
And there's a women's fight on the card.
On the main card,
yes.
On the main card.
Crystal Van Beek versus Misha Loubser. Now, it's an interesting women's fight, but you've got Crystal Van Beek, who's now experienced 3 fights, 3-0.
Yeah.
But she's going up against Mishka Locher, who's 0-1. So, it's going to be interesting to see if essentially the newbie with a loss can actually challenge Van Wyk, because Van Wyk is 3-0.
You know what the thing is that complacency and hunger. That's what we're gonna see here. Do you become complacent after your 3 victories, or do you push through and go for those tight 10-0, 11-0, the big numbers? And do we see a fighter that has debuted with a loss come in hungry and hard and really want that win? So, just to stabilize and balance their record, to go in with a second loss would be catastrophic for the confidence. So, woo!
And the career and the matchmakers would start to say,
Exactly. So, starting off on that footing, I really think Misha will come in as hard as she can, to bolster her career in the right direction.
100%. But career in the right direction. Let's talk about UFC Nashville that's happening this coming weekend. Sandhagen font. Corey the Sandman, knee you in the head font.
You know what? I've actually got a little bit of a PTSD about that one. I was expecting to see Sandhagen Nurmagomedov and seeing Umar tested to the fullest ability against the Sandman himself. The man that flippin' puts people to sleep. Marlon... Morales?
Yeah, Morales. Yes.
Marlon Moraes just in probably the peak of his bantamweight career, put in sleep, baby. So Sandhagen, they don't call him the Sandman for nothing. And against an early replacement, Rob, as you like to call him, No Eyes Font.
We all know why. He wins his fights.
He does. It'll be an interesting one. I always recommend never missing a UFC fight night, because this is the time when people prove themselves. This is the time when you go in the back or you come to the front. And for Corey, I think it's his time to prove why he was the only one to challenge on.
And he's going number 4 versus number 7. So for Font as well, it makes sense. He wins it. He goes up. He loses. Well, okay, I'll take that early fight as well. Jessica Andrade versus Tatiana Suarez.
Hi, Jessica. Jessica needs to win. Tatiana Suarez, it's a tough opponent. I think Jessica has moved up a weight class or down.
She's strawweight now, which is where she was champion. She's number 5, so it's 5v10 strawweight bout, not at the featherweight. No.
Sorry, guys, I got a little bit mixed up there. But Jessica needs a win. Despite that, in any weight class. She can go to featherweight, she can fight there, she needs to win. She needs to win. And I think just for her confidence as the champion she used to be, she needs to see that she can still put it out. And this would be lovely to see her put it out and get the help. Get the W! Get the W! Get the W!
Of course, Tatiana Suarez's camp would not be too happy with hearing that. But the other fight on the card that's very exciting is Dustin Jacoby versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. African fighter, Kennedy Nzechukwu. I've seen him fighting a couple of times. Very calm, very relaxed every time he comes into the octagon. But then once he starts fighting, he starts dropping bombs. Very skilled fighter. Jacoby, another bomb dropper. He's always in very intense fights. So I'm really looking forward to that matchup as well.
Yeah, man. I think the light heavyweight division is being shaken up. It's time for people to put in their names. Time for people to step up. There is a vacant championship. People need to be hungry, because the people that are coming for it, Alex Pereira, Yair, even Jan, unfortunately he will become the gatekeeper of the division. And anybody that really wants to make statements needs to make statements here and with Jan.
Although Jan might stop taking those, because then that affects his ranking. Because now he's just lost to Alex, which means that he's lost his ranking, because Alex is now touted for the championship. So, you can only take so many of those and win or not. But it's Jan, he's probably going to win.
Do you think it's time to hang up the gloves for Jan? Do you think he gets to a championship position ever again?
He's come off a draw in a split decision. He's 40. So he would have to dominate at least 2 fights and then a championship title shot. But that was maybe 2 years, depending on how well he might win those interim fights. Like you said, as the gatekeeper, saying, okay, bring number 5, bring number 7, bring number whoever it is. Let me show them who I am. Let me show them what this division is. He takes them out. Then at that point, you would have had at least maybe 2 title defenses or title fights. And then it'll be, okay, well, who's next? Well, Jan has won his last 2. So I think there's still a small outside chance that he gets another title shot. But draw in a split, it's tough.
It is tough. And the light heavyweight championship isn't... We're going to see that ping pong game again, I believe. Whether Alex wins or
Jiri
Braska wins, it's going to be that ping pong game. We're going to have that rematch. I think it's going to be highly contested. I think it's going to be an entertaining fight, but it's going to be a stagnancy for the division because it's going to be these 2 titans going against it for the title. And it will be I believe it will be one of those fights that people will want to see again, no matter who wins. And that just creates stagnance in the division. And
it
that
depends
sort of
on how they win. If it's a dominant win, there's never a call for a rematch. If it's a pure knockout, you're winning the fight, pure knockout, there's no call for a rematch. So
do you see that happening though?
Yuri versus Alex, it's possible. Look, Alex went the distance. He did the full 3 rounds. He beat Jan on split. And if I watch the fight, he did the work that he needed to do. He did the work that he needed to do to make sure that he won that fight. So did Jan, which is why he felt robbed. But with the type of fighter that Yuri is, the type of fighter that Alex is, if Alex has become proficient on the ground to not be submitted by Jan, and it goes to the feet, my money's on Alex. Yuri is dynamic. He's got the elbows. He's got Superman punches. He's more dynamic. But honestly, the left hook of death.
Hey, that thing will put you to sleep. And talking about right hooks, I know it's not MMA, but I'm a huge boxing fan. So let's talk a little bit about Paul Diaz.
We had a conversation about this. I'm like, you know what? I don't think Nate can do it because he's not a boxer. But you're like, no, bro. Listen. Well, where do you stand? I think Paul's gonna take it. Simply because if I look at his record, the only people that he has lost to is real boxers. Nate's not a real boxer, unfortunately, and it's really that simple for me to say Paul.
Okay, let's have that conversation. I think from a purely opinion-based standpoint, the only person that Jake fought with technical striking ability was Fury, yes. Then the other opponents were all grappling-based, wrestling-based fighters. And when you're picking opponents like that, even in the UFC, yes, the grappling and the wrestling have that certain advantage when it comes to body contact. But if, as we've seen it, like as we saw in UFC 291, if you get that distance and you're able to strike, it goes down. So understanding technical ability and striking, adding to that, I think that Nate brings a different style and a different understanding of striking than the previous MMA opponents. And whether that brings him the win or not, I don't know, but Nate Diaz is a man made of rock, basically, and he will take the punishment
with elbows.
Exactly, man. And he'll take the punishment, and I would love to see Jake take a little bit of punishment himself. So that's why I'm excited for this fight, just to see Jake get hit by somebody that can actually strike, man.
And Nate says he's ready. He walked out of 2 press conferences, but he is ready. But going back to 291, that was an amazing card. That card was stacked from top to bottom. Even despite the pullout of Michel Pereira not making weight, so he couldn't fight Wonder Boy. Be that as it may, they brought in the Derek Lewis versus Marcos Rogerio de Lima fight into the main card, and that fight performed. That fight,
My people.
Derek must be down.
My balls is hot.
You know.
Masvidal's spirit was in the octagon, and the only person that had the wherewithal and the girth to take on that spirit was Derek Hotballs Lewis. And thank you. We spoke about him in the previous episode, about his depressions, about his near-death experiences, and it was amazing to see him win the way he won. I'm sorry for Lima, but Derek needed it. And we needed it to see him after seeing Tony Ferguson down on the ground, choked out, crying, and then laughing with Derek Lewis after he took his pants off, swung to thread. It was amazing. And those are the emotions that you go through being an MMA fan. It's truly amazing.
That's quite true. Look, you talk about Tony Ferguson. For me, I was all Bobby Green because he's literally Bobby. I will fight anybody at any time with any notice, Green. And I know legend Tony, future Hall of Famer, past champion, but personally, I'm happy for Bobby. Like, because Bobby is really there. He's like, listen, just give me the fight, I'll fight. Tony Ferguson, give me a legend, let's go. I don't care. The other fight he came in on short notice, he got his ass beat, but he was there. He showed up. So for me, that fight was amazing. You've got another guy who fights anybody, Kevin Holland, Michael Chiesa. Kevin came out with the win. I mean, what more can you want? The other fight, yeah.
Convincing win as well.
Convincing win, and Kevin needed it.
He did need it for the division. He did need it for his energy in the UFC at the moment. And I think he is a contender for the welterweight top 5 strap situation. Moving into the next fight, which we did kind of discuss.
And the welterweight BMF, definitely, he would be the one I'd like to see in that fight. Whoever he fights, if there's a welterweight BMF, it must be Kevin there.
It must be Big Mouth Kevin Holland. Definitely.
You were saying.
Moving on to the next fight of that night, Jan Alex. Wow, what did you think? You basically called that fight. You basically called it, and I think that's an attribute to the type of MMA fans we are, guys.
In depth, we go deep.
Yes, man. And then coming to the kick him in the head main event.
I mean, Justin Gaethje.
Wow.
Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Wow.
We all knew it was going to be a banger.
Yeah.
Dustin Poirier, legend. BMF strap on the line. Justin Gaethje, one of the best fighters in the welterweight right now. One of the most violent, known to be one of the most violent men in the division. When he last fought, it was said that he hits harder than most other fighters, as small as he looks.
Yeah.
And so this fight, the second fight, he lost the last one to Dustin due to strikes. So this one he came in, and you could see he was more composed. He was more structured. He had more of a game plan, and it was a great fight. Dustin had his game plan, and it was a good fight. It was going well. And then what happened?
He basically waited for Dustin to do his signature move, and then
Kicked him in the head!
Justin was like, yo, I see those pants going up. It's go time. Because that, if you don't know Dustin Poirier, that is Dustin Poirier's signature move. The pull him up the pants and it's time to go, boy. Mm-hmm. And that's the Louisiana in him coming out very strong. But I think Justin took the opportunity, saw the gap. He knew the frequency of the fight was about to be turned up, and he turned it up just before. And that is perfect MMA. That's,
we should make that our logo now, to be honest with you.
Woo!
Although they were saying that technically he kicked him in the back of the head because his foot actually wrapped around to the back.
Guys, let's explain the technique of a head kick. If you're kicking somebody with your foot, like the foot piece of your foot here, guys, that it's gonna hurt. You will break your actual foot. The best place to kick somebody is with the shin piece. moving lower down, moving upper. That's why we've got those Muay Thai fights rubbing that wood, to get them nerves dead and everything.
Feel nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that is basically the perfect head kick that he got Dustin with.
Yeah, no, it really was. But after that fight and during the fight, we had ConorMcGregor tweeting during the fight.
Yeah.
Conor, I don't want to say it, but running from Iron Mike McGregor, basically calling Gaethje out. I mean,
your boy is cloud chasing. Your boy is so cloud chasing. It's not even a joke. It's like, get off the proper 12, my homie, and coach your guys. Wow, he is a meme. This homie is a meme. He wins once. He goes off like he's ripping off his shirt.
he was berserk.
And my homie's winning, my homie.
Ay.
You've
That was the
lost
sound.
7 of 8. And you won once, and you're going off like you won Marty. I don't even know. You like featherweight double champion again. So I really think he's cloud chasing hard. And Gaethje gave the perfect statement. It's like, get off the juice, my homie. So I have no idea what's gonna happen there. It is a money fight. I was watching something about Henry Cejudo, and Henry, for me, is probably one of the most analytical, like,
MMA minds.
yes, and the way he breaks down the fights and everything like that is beautiful. My biggest thing that he said to Justin, his advice was, take the fight. Just take it. Doesn't matter if your boy's on steroids, doesn't matter, because them dollars they be showing. So it'll be interesting to see if Gaethje is interested in the dollars.
And that's the thing. I think what you say is quite right. Conor is clout chasing simply because whoever has just won, he will basically sort of call them out. Similar to what he did with Chandler. Whoever's just won is popular. Let me go at you, right?
Yes.
Then disappear. Why? Because he wants to keep his relevance that by the time he's ready, he can call out whoever's on top. So he's calling everyone out so that by the time he says, okay, you know what, I'm ready, I've had enough of whatever I'm doing, let me get back to fighting because it's the end of my career, he has an easy in to a title fight, easy in to a contender fight to say, look, who's going to be number one contender? And I think that's really what he's doing. He's just making sure he's remaining relevant within the division so that at least when he comes back, he can call anyone's name and everyone will say, yes, okay, despite the money.
Yeah, the MMA mindset is like a goldfish, man. We don't remember very much past the last insane knockout.
Yep.
Like, I do think that is MMA social media's fault because they plow us with like knockouts. I mean, guys, jump on our socials, jump on our Instagrams, jump on our Twitters, jump on, and you will be seeing awesome MMA content, and we will be plowing you with violence and memes. So yeah, I think that is MMA social media's fault because we just kind of forget. And then the minute Conor does say something, he becomes relevant again. So that's just to your point, man. Your boy is just riding that cloud train to the point where he may jump in or just may have a fight with Jake Paul.
Khamzat Chimaev, Usman, hype train. So similar thing. Khamzat has a heck of a hype train behind him right now. Everyone loves Khamzat. Everyone wants to see Khamzat fight because of his record and because of his skills and everything he's been doing, saying over his career in the UFC. He was supposed to fight Kamaru Usman. They scheduled the fight and everything, but apparently what happened is that he was calling for it at middleweight. Whereas Usman's like, look, I'm number 1 in welterweight division. You're number 3. Let's fight. I'm willing to come down. You can take my position if you win. If not, I solidify and then I'll probably get the fight against whoever's going to be the champion, maybe after Leon Colby or whatever comes next. Or heck, give us a catch weight, let's fight. But Khamzat's like, no, only at middleweight. And essentially, that's Khamzat riding his clout because at the end of the day, Kamaru Usman has the pedigree, he has the track record, he has the profile, he has the previous championship, he's got multiple title defenses. he calls the shots, realistically speaking.
Yes.
So, you know, speaking of cow chasing, Conor McGregor, Khamzat Chimaev, also you're going to do in MMA, you know.
Hey man, I love the way Hamza has come in and just thrown his weight around like he's somebody. He came from Brave FC and he's come into the UFC and he's basically acted like he calls the shots. Every single one of his interactions with anyone and everyone, he does call the shots. And I think this is the test of the star power. Because we aren't talking about Usman like you are. Like you're stating the facts, and the facts is what it is. But people are talking about Chimaev. Chimaev that hasn't really done anything. Chimaev that is gangster walking out there, and then all of a sudden he's causing fights with a homie over there and calling out people in 5 different divisions. I don't get it. I understand his popularity, his violence, his ability to make a dramatically awesome fight. But has he really lived up to the hype around his name, saying, I'll fight 2 people in one night? Man, when's the last time you fought, brother? Right? You're calling out 6 different people. The last time you fought was against Burns, and Burns almost beat you. Realistically.
Cold clocked.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe he's still recovering from that because that was a hell of a fight.
Exactly. And now he's got another hell of a fight in front of him. He was about to fight Usman, the #1 contender. Now he's fighting Pablo Costa, the biggest social media MMA homie ever, who is dangerous.
Pablo Costa is a monster.
He's dangerous in the octagon. And, I mean, in the hexagon. And if you're Octagon.
Hexagon here, octagon there.
Octagon there, yeah, it's the level up. Guys, the octagon in the UFC is the level up. Facing Pablo in the octagon, Pablo is dangerous. And Hamza, we all know he's training, we all know he's doing big things. But at the end of the day, what is he actually doing? Is his mind somewhere else? Is he actually concerned about Pablo? Pablo? I don't know.
Look, with what he looks like now, and I mean, we've all seen the pictures on the social media side. It looks like he's training. It looks like he's ready. Maybe he's just waiting for the right paycheck. I don't know. We'll see.
And maybe visa issues, man. We have no idea.
That's also real. That has kept one of our champions here.
Oh, and it is time again for the fighter of the week. So yeah.
My fighter of this glorious fight week.
Yes.
Justin Gaethje.
Oh!
I'm not a Justin Gaethje fan. I never really liked Justin. I was like, Justin Gaethje, Justin.
Yeah.
He literally made me happy with that head kick. Happy. So he's literally just become one of my favorite fighters. Not that I didn't respect him.
Yeah.
I saw his pedigree. He's a great fighter, but for me, the fact that he doesn't really go to ground. He's once literally he had a takedown defense against himself. I'm sure you've seen that video.
Yes.
I'm like, Justin Gaethje with that head kick. Justin Gaethje.
I think the brilliant thing about Justin is I think the reason why I've always liked Justin is because he is probably one of the best wrestlers in the lightweight division, and he's never used wrestling before ever in the UFC, and I love it. I love that stand and bang mentality. Brilliant fight of the week. Mine is Derek Hotballs Lewis, because of the simple fact you had all that emotional stuff going on, and then you came out and you became Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. With a six-pack. And then you pulled out a flying knee. To be on the top of, I think, the all-time knockout record in the UFC.
14.
So, my fight of the week, Derek's Hotball Lewis. And then at the end, your boy just takes off his pants and it's like, woo! I love it, man.
You know what's that? My balls is hot,
He's so entertaining, and I was just so happy for him, man. Really, really happy for Derek's Hotballs Lewis.
So there's been a few other things we've been doing. We've got a few outreach programs that we've actually been executing recently, specifically around hunger. I think tell us more about that.
Yes. Okay. So what we've been doing is we've been culminating food parcels on Fridays. Trying to do it every second Friday of the month. Just getting some biryanis, some maybe chicken curry together, and just handing it out to the less fortunate, the hungry. In South Africa, there is a huge population of South Africans that go to bed not being able to eat. I think that hunger is probably the biggest pandemic within South Africa, aside from poverty. And I think obviously when you're poor, you're hungry, and fighting the hunger, we're just trying to kick poverty in the head and trying to help people that need a little bit of help. And especially with fighters and fighting being the industry it is, that these guys don't often get the type of currency that they should be getting, like in boxing and those other combat sports. I think it's a good thing to promote the give back mentality, and it's a thing that we as a team has been speaking about a lot. And as a person, you've actually inspired me out to really pull this through, and I think that it will become something that we will talk about more in the show.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And you know, it's quite right, because if you look at where a lot of fighters come from, a lot of them come from very hard, tough situations where they're using fighting to feed their families. As we spoke about recently, Mickey Mouse Klote said, listen, I work 2 jobs and I still get to the gym every day to make sure I train, to make sure I can fight so I can feed my family. So it's very important to look after people, and essentially fighting hunger is something that can also be used to help fighters. So for example, you've got Temba Gorimbo, who went over to the States. He had $7 in his account, sleeping in the gym. Colby Covington was bringing him food parcels. So, you know, fighting hunger, especially within the MMA space, is very important, because it's something that a lot of people come through in order to get to MMA.
Exactly. And in all honesty, fighting is probably one of the most purest professions, in the sense that we all fight. In all the aspects of our lives, and all, I mean, these guys do it for real in the cage, but somebody going to work in their car is also fighting. Sometimes they also be hungry, man. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, guys, let's get together and talk to people, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I think that's probably the biggest thing. If you do need help, maybe we won't be able to help you, but we will be able to talk about it. So comment if you need some help, comment if you want to talk about it, guys. I think the best thing to do is to air your feelings out there in a space that you feel comfortable. And if you feel comfortable with us, we feel comfortable with you.
And that's it for the Kick Him in the Head podcast this week. Guys, we'll have a chat with you next week. Shaheed?
Way, baby.
First live.
That's what it is, baby.
And we're out.
Check you later.
Kick Him in the Head is a podcast that takes an inside look at the world of mixed martial arts, featuring interviews with some of the top fighters from South Africa and around the world, with a focus on the EFC and UFC promotions. Join us as we delve deep into the techniques, strategies, and mindsets of these world-class athletes, learning from their experiences and gaining insights into what makes a successful fighter in the toughest sport on earth.
Kick him